Hello everyone, it's Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio. Today I'm sharing with you my Mission Inspiration January 2017 art journal page. This is from Mike Deakin Art channel, and he posts his monthly challenge on a Facebook group. Yeah, he changed it this year. He used to have 10 steps and now he's only got 8, but he added in an optional color palette and then some inspiration words to help you out. So those things are all part of his challenge now. The first step was to glue torn fragments of junk mail, and I'm using the inside of my Discover card bill envelope. It's got black crosshatch patterns on it. Gluing it down with matte gel medium, not the real liquidy kind, but the gel, which I prefer. And I'm using a page that has leftover paint on it already. This is in my large Strathmore spiral bound journal that I'm going to use for this stuff this year, and it has 140-pound watercolor paper as the pages, so they're nice and heavy. It's pretty big. It's bigger than my 9x12. I'm not sure. It might be 12 by 16, maybe. I don't know. I think it's bigger than 9x12, but I haven't actually measured it. So once that step was done, the next step was to add strips of ribbon or trim. I decided to use black grosgrain ribbon and make kind of branches type of a situation in my background. I'm using Aleene's tacky glue to glue this down because I started out with the matte gel medium, which is a heavy glue, but it just kept popping back up, and I didn't have the patience to hold it down long enough for it to stick. Also, where I'm twisting the ribbons, I'm needing to add back in some glue there in places to make it stick back down. Tacky glue, the reason it's called tacky isn't because it's unattractive or wears bad plaid golf pants. It's because it sticks down quickly. It's already sticky when you put it on. So that's a good choice. A tacky glue is a good choice if you're trying to do something like this quickly. Aleene's isn't stinky. There are some tacky glues, which you see me doing it right there. That's a beacon glue. It's a tacky glue as well. Stinks though. Smells stinky. Aleene's doesn't smell stinky. I think that some glues have solvents in them, and that's the reason they smell like that. So I'm just adding branches randomly with the ribbon all over the background. This ribbon is fairly heavy. I think it's a cotton polyester blend. I'm not sure. So next was, well, I trimmed off the edges to get everything fixed up, and then I'm going to put gesso all over it. It says to cover with gesso or paint. So I'm adding in some deli paper to protect the page underneath and putting tape over the spiral portion of the binder. I get sticky glue and paint all over that thing, and then the pages won't flip anymore. So I didn't want that, so that's the reason that I covered it with some masking tape. So this is a heavy gesso. Heavy gesso is thicker, and mine's getting even thicker. So you saw me add some water to it at the beginning. I'm just gonna keep a little bit of extra water in there to try to get it to thin back down again. But heavy gesso covers quicker because it's thick, and you can also use it as a texture paste if you put it through a stencil. So it's a nice thing to have. And I'm not completely covering everything. I'm letting parts of the lime green in the background show through, as well as some of the black on the branches, the ribbon branches, ribbon branches, and the black crosshatch pattern on the inside of the envelope from the junk mail. The next step was to add secret journaling. So I'm using a soft graphite pen. This is a 6B from this little drawing or drafting set, and I'm using the word determination as part of my inspiration for this page, because I'm determined to get back on track. At the beginning of the year, I said that I was going to take better care of myself, that I was going to eat better, exercise, all those type of things. I haven't done any of that. It's now the end of the month, and I'm basically in the same patterns that I was before. So I'm determined to get myself back on track, to start cooking healthier food, to exercise, to get out of bed, not take long winter naps, and to get my channel back on track, because I've been, not doing videos. Well, I am now, but I went there for a period of, I got off track with my every other day videos that I had decided I was going to do. So for about 7, 8, 9, 10 days, I didn't do anything. So determined to get back on track. So once my journaling, which was about that, and you can't read it. I mean, nobody can read it because it's secret journaling. It's a secret. I decided to make it even more secret by adding some more glazing to the background, which I used glazing fluid and high flow colors in teal and green gold, and a palette knife to just go and make kind of an interesting splashy, scratchy background. So you really can't see the journaling now. I mean, you can. It's a design element, but that's about it. Which is how it's supposed to be, because it's a secret. The next thing, the next step, which is step 5, was to add a focal point or image. I decided to use this owl from this Mixed Media Origins paper from Canvas Corp Brands. And I want to tell you guys something that I found out. If you watch my videos regularly, you know that I said I really like the consistency, and this paper is great for mixed media because it feels like a heavy watercolor paper, but it won't tear, it doesn't wrinkle. It's an interesting paper, and I kept saying, at least once I said in a video, maybe more, that I wish they had it in just plain white. Right? Have you heard me say that? Just plain white. Why does it have to always be printed? Because then now you've got this printing on it, and you have to either decide that that's your background layer and paint over it, or use the actual images, which they're great images, but sometimes, a lot of times, I draw my own stuff. In fact, almost all the time I draw my own stuff. Well, I found out when I was at CHA Creativation that they do have that paper in white. It's just called suede. So I will put the link to the suede paper as well as this pretty owl if you want to, I'll put the link below, and you can find this great paper that's a great base substrate for mixed media in just plain white. I don't know why nobody told me that. I don't know why I didn't know that. There's so much information about Canvas Corp Brands because they have so many products that things get lost in the cracks. So I'm sorry that I never said that I said that they didn't have it in white, because I was lying. They do have it in white. It's just called suede, just suede, S-U-E-D-E paper. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and I'm going to order a bunch of it. So I am watercoloring this owl in colors that I would be if I was an owl, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be purple and teal and green and pretty colors like that. So I'm using those colors, but I'm not using regular watercolors. I am using India ink. This is from, this brand is Dr. P.H. Martin's, and it comes in 2 different sets, and I will link below the one that I use the colors from. And I just poured them into a plastic palette, and then I'm kind of mixing and blending a little bit, but mostly using the pure colors, and I'm using water with it to make it like a watercolor. This paper watercolors beautifully. It's smooth enough and absorbent enough that it takes the color really nicely. And I am using my high quality round watercolor brush, not like a cheapy one, to do this. So I will try to find my brush, because people have been asking me that, and I need to figure out where you can find it online. I think the brush guys probably have it. or something. So I will link that below as well as everything else that I'm using on the page. Most of the links will be to Amazon because I buy pretty much everything on Amazon, but of course Canvas Corp brands will be linked, and perhaps this place where I got this watercolor brush. Well, I got it at Dick Blick in their store, but I think I can find it online probably at a cheaper than I bought it for. So I have white and black India ink, and then a teal, a violet, a red violet, and like a dioxazine purple type color, and then some brown and some ochre. And I'm just kind of, about the only mixing I'm really doing is lightening up the purple with the white, and then also I make some kind of a greenish color by mixing the ochre and the teal at some point. But mostly just playing around, coloring, adding color here, adding color there, going back over it a few times. I'm not wetting the paper first and then applying the color like you would with the watercolor sometimes, because this paper is very absorbent and the water would wick out into the parts that I don't want. I am going to save the rest of this paper to use as a background at some other point because it has interesting stuff on both sides. It's got this thistle on this side plus like some maybe chain link or something in the background, things like that. And it also has a really cool other side. Like these papers are double printed. They have two different designs on either side. So pretty nice paper, and I do recommend it. Just painting, painting, painting. Yeah, while we're doing this, I guess I could say, please give me a thumbs up, comment so that I know that you were here. If you don't comment, I don't know that you looked at the video. I can see that people looked at the video, but I don't know who it was. So if you want me to know, leave a comment. Subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my videos, because you'll can get notifications. You can turn on notifications to be notified every time I post a video, which is supposed to be every other day, and I'm going to try to stick to that. And of course, if you really like this video, you can share it by pinning it on Pinterest or sharing it on your Facebook. It's really easy to do with the buttons down below. All those things really, really help my channel because it tells YouTube that I'm making something valuable that someone likes, and then they will recommend it to someone else who might be looking for something similar, and that makes my channel grow. So that's really helpful. So I attached this to the page using the matte gel medium again, and this is a thick glue. I apply it with a nasty old paintbrush. Just you know, designate one of your paintbrushes to be your gel medium brush, because it's going to get gross anyway. So I still have the same old one. I really should get around to at some point replacing it. When I was at Creativation, Gina Ahrens told me that I could clean up this brush by soaking it like even as much as a week in Murphy's oil soap and then scraping it with the palette knife, and it would become as good as new. So I don't believe it. Sorry, Gina, I don't believe it. So I'm going to try it when I get around to remembering when I'm at the store to buy Murphy's oil soap. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I can't remember to save my life. You know, I think, oh, I need to do that, and then I don't remember. So I've been meaning to buy Murphy's oil soap. I just never remember. So the next step is to add drips or splatters. I decided to use both drips and splatters because I like them. I think that really gives a piece a mixed media, in air quotations, look when you splatter it, because it's kind of a thing. It's a style thing. So I'm just using that same India ink that's still in my little plastic palette and some water in a spray bottle to add my drips and splatters, or I'm just using a regular inexpensive paintbrush to splatter actually, and then applying it and applying the ink and then spraying and tapping it onto the table to try to get it to drip, you know, that whole process. It's pretty fun. And this is the black India ink. And then at some point I use the white India ink to splatter as well. I guess after I dry it, because I didn't want the wet black ink and the white to blend together, because then it would just be gray. So I dried it in between. This was a fun project. Oh, and then I decided that my owl was still a little bit too pale, that I'd used too much water on my watercolor. So at some point I do use the inks again and brighten it up a little bit. I guess this is the point. And I go back to my expensive, nice watercolor brush to do that. It makes a difference in watercolor what kind of brush you use. In other stuff, not so much. I have lots and lots and lots of cheap brushes because I am an admitted brush abuser. But this nice one, I keep it nice. I make sure it's very clean, and I make sure that it's dried correctly, and it's because it was expensive. So, you know, if a brush costs $2, maybe I don't care. If a brush costs $22, I might care. So here I am just deepening up the color a little bit, just to make the owl compete with the background, because that lime green in the background is really an intense color. I think that was probably Dylusions paint that was left over, and I scraped it onto a page. So the next step was to make marks with paint or ink. So I decided to use a Pitt artist brush pen, which gives a little bit of a blending time, to just go around some stuff. And then I use some Posca pens, which have an acrylic ink in them in a marker form, to brighten up the beak, the eyes, and the little feet. And then also to make white marks as highlights. So that little step was my chance to do some detail work like I enjoy doing. Especially white Posca pen. You guys know I use the white Posca pen as highlights, quick highlights, nothing real fancy, but just I like to do that a lot to finish up my pages. And I also like to make shadows. I was going to use a Stabilo all pencil to make the shadows around the bird to make it blend into the page. Couldn't find it. I know that my Stabilo all is only about 2 inches long at this point, and it's hiding somewhere, so that's why I used the Pitt pen. But either one works. It's just, are you blending it with your finger, or are you blending it with water? So it's all good. So yeah, just doing detail work. I'm a fussy person, so I like things a certain way, so I do tend to detail quite a bit. So the last step, step number 8, was to add a frame or border. I was going to just do a black line border with a straight edge ruler, but then I decided what I really wanted was more like just a hint of a border. So I'm using an artist sponge and some black archival ink to just sponge around the edges. It just deepens up the edge of the entire page and makes it feel more closed in, like a border, but isn't so defined. And then I do a little bit more fussing. You know, the fussing. I got to do the fussing. The final thing that I did was to write the word determination, because that's what this page was about, at the bottom there, just so that I remember to be determined to get back on track and make things the way that I want them. I should have just used my black Posca pen. This is actually a food ball pen, but I prefer Posca, and I don't know why I grabbed that. I just did. And then I use the white Posca to go all around the outside of the letters to make them stand out from the background, because that's a pretty intense background. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this page, and if you did, leave me a comment so that I know that you did. And thanks, Mike Deakin Art, for continuing your challenges for this year. And I will be doing them every month. Bye-bye.